Happy New Year, everybody, and thanks for joining me today. In this episode, I'll be talking about Dom's RX7 from the first movie. And if you watch the behind-the-scenes features on the Fast and Furious DVD from way back then, there's a great little sequence where they show the RX7 driving onto the lot right next to Rob Cohen, and then Vin Diesel walking around the car and showing the car to the production team. Everybody liked the car. It was fantastic. And the car was owned by Keith Emoto. Keith's RX7 was the perfect car for the four-way street race. It was a little more upscale against the other cars, but not over the top to make it look like it would be the obvious winner of this race. And of course, you never know what's under the hood of a street racing Honda back then, right? It could be really fast or it could be just lame. All four cars lined up together looked like a pretty even match. That story is coming up right after the break. Have you ever Googled your name? If you have, you were probably shocked to see some of your personal information floating around for the whole world to see. Every once in a while, I Google myself just for fun. I'm always surprised what kind of things are floating around the internet. It's just creepy that these companies have this information on me. So this is what they do. These data brokers are making money hand over fist by selling your info to robocallers, spammers, and in some cases, much worse. This is why I'm talking about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers who are exposing your information and then submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do that. So let Aura handle all of it for you. Now you can get off of all of those lists. You can try Aura free for 2 weeks using my link here below, aura.com/Craig. Aura does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats that you can't even see. It's really easy to set up, so you don't have to bother downloading several different apps just to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft, insurance, and even more. You get everything at one affordable price. So let Aura do all the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Keith's RX7 was perfect. It was a perfect blend of show and go. Best of all, since he didn't overdo it, we had confidence that the car wouldn't break down on set. And as such, Keith's car was designated Hero 1, or sometimes we refer to #1 principal car. So we signed him and we rented the car and he was in, just like that. Still, we were gonna need at least 2 stunt cars plus a Mick rig car and a buck. And because Keith's car had a roll cage, we realized that Vin Diesel was gonna have problems getting in and out of the car. So we had to take the roll cage out of the car. But the car with the last 3 digits ending in 865 was designated Stunt 2 for the first movie. This car was also reconditioned and painted orange for Too Fast, Too Furious as a stunt car a couple years later. So it did double duty, so that was a big thing. But that was not Keith's car. We had other cars for that. This car was built by Keith before the movie. His mod list wasn't just cool, but logical. Keith started his project with minor bolt-ons consisting of Mazda Trix front and mid pipes and a Blitz Nurspec R exhaust, but it also allowed Keith to raise the boost a little bit, just 0.3 bar, but that's something, right? Unfortunately, additional fuel was not incorporated to match the higher boost levels. In a rotary car, that's a big problem with the apex seals, and that's exactly what happened. It wasn't very happy. Not knowing that the 13B motor can be very fragile if not properly tuned, Keith learned the hard lesson. The increased boost pressures caused the 13B motor to lean out and force the stock apex seals to call it quits. And that was the end of that. So Keith was distraught as he towed his car to the guys over at Sidepex for some assistance. And you know what that means, the motor's coming out. You can't just replace the apex seals, you gotta do other stuff. Gotta get everything tuned properly. For engine management, they chose the Apex Power FC standalone computer. The Apex Power FC allows access to tune the fuel maps in order to avoid any potential fuel mishaps, and further troubles with leaning out were taken care of by using a high pressure fuel pump from the 20B tri-rotor Cosmos. That's basically what they were doing back then. These days it's very different. A pair of Blitz stainless steel air cleaners ensures that no unwanted particles will find their way into the turbo compressor wheel, and after that he added a Blitz super sound blow-off valve bolted to the charge pipe to minimize backspin. It was a typical bolt-on car back then, good enough to drive every day and powerful enough to make it fun. And Since rotaries are notorious for running extremely hot, he was smart enough to put aluminum radiator from Night Sports, which helps keeps the 13B in safe territory. Again, pretty much a perfect recipe for reliable show car and track car. And as mean as the rotary might be to the ear, the exterior of the car is very aggressive, especially with this Vilside Combat 2 body kit, which really makes the car. The wide mouth on the hand-laid flat fiberglass bumper reels a huge Blitz front mount intercooler. Every piece of the original Vilside body kit is fully functional and blended into the car. It looked fantastic, including the carbon fiber rear and the back. That completed the look, and I think the car was just brilliant. As you saw in the DVD, the car was initially gray, but that wasn't flashy enough for Universal. So the gray paint was covered with fire engine red paint and Troy Lee graphics matching the rest of cars in the movie. The idea was to make this car sleek and flashy, but not too menacing. It wasn't going to be in the movie for long, as we already know. RE sleek headlight kit replaces the pop-up factory headlight for street handling. Apex T-Max shocks with racing beat springs did the trick for him for street driving and a little bit of track fun. But it's certainly not the ideal setup for drag racing, but it really didn't matter, right? The street race shown in the first movie was not a real street race. Of course, it's all choreographed. In any case, with all these mods, the RX7 made 305 horsepower to the wheels. As for the under-seat nitrous system, that was completely faked. That system was made up by Eddie Paul and his team. It was a system made by using scuba parts, handmade parts, and some were even made out of wood. The concept came from a system that was actually on the market at the time. It was called the Sneaky Pete system, offered by Nitrous Oxide Systems. This was something that was pioneered by drag racers many decades ago, and eventually Nitrous Oxide Systems created a full system called the Sneaky Pete. For years after that movie, I was getting tagged in forums. Where can I buy that kit? Where can I buy that? It wasn't a real kit. But looking at the picture, you see that silver block right there holding the 2 gauges? That was a wooden piece cut from a 2x4. The little switch there and the fake piece of carbon fiber underneath that and the green light were all taken out of one of the Eclipses that we were building for the movie. Also fake was the stereo system in the trunk. Keith's car did not have that stereo system in the movie. Look on the forums, people are looking for Keith Emoto's stereo system. You're never gonna find it because it never existed. But one of the cars did get a full setup for a key interior shot. And after that shot was done, that car was done. They took it off the set and that was the last time I saw it. My bone of contention about how they used this car in the movie was this. The car, cosmetically, it was good. It was on point. But when I first heard the editing of the engine noises when he pulls up to the first gathering, you know, everybody, Paul Walker comes in, Vin Diesel comes in, right? Instead of using the rotary engine noises, they decided to use a mix of 1 JZ or 2 JZ recordings and sweeten the tracks using animal sounds, rocket engines, and other things. All those things blended together, and that's what we heard. When I was sitting in the theater for the first time with an audience, most people didn't know what the difference between 1 JZ or 2 JZ or a rotary, so nobody looked at it crazy like I did, but the first time I listened to it, I was like, what the? Why do they do that? Why do you might as well put a Hemi in there? And I told them that, and they just said, whatever. That's the way it goes. The reason they do that is because the sound designers are artists as well. They like to sweeten it and spice it up, as you could say. But it wasn't accurate. We actually recorded the sounds of all the cars, but they chose not to use that soundtrack. Anyway, that's what we ended up with. It was too late to change it, and it ended that. That's why that car had that sound. Everybody knows about rotaries, know that that's not a rotary engine. But anyway, you know, it's not a documentary, so let's move on. Ironically, when I saw the car, red was really not my choice. We already had a red Integra. Nevertheless, when I saw it done, I really liked it. So which car would have really won the race in real life? Obviously the RX-7, assuming that all the cars that ran the race with the engines and mods that they actually had, not what we told you on film what they had. Because the Eclipse was naturally aspirated, it was not turbocharged, it didn't have a functioning nitrous system. But if he had a turbo GST variant, maybe a little bigger turbo, a working small nitrous system, and maybe some sticky tires, it would have been a close drag race in real life, depending how you drive and all that kind of stuff. One more thing, I keep getting this question, I don't know why. People always ask me, what happened to Dom's RX-7 after he ditched it in the garage? It's a silly question, it's a child's question. The movie never showed us what happened to the car. Why not? Because it wasn't part of the story. If you're watching a movie and you want to figure out what happened after when the screen went black, if they don't show that to you, nothing happened. It's for you to figure it out.
Imagination.
Or just forget about it. It has no bearing on the story. It doesn't move the story forward. It doesn't change anything. And this is the same reason why they don't show the cars getting gas. Who wants to listen to them talk at a gas station? What are you talking about? Are these the gas prices? So what happened to these cars in real life after the movie? Well, Keith got his car back, and the car made the rounds in the tuner car magazines all around the world. And after all, this was a nice, tastefully done RX-7. And it was also a star of a global blockbuster car movie and a big part of it. So what happened was the movie cars were all put into storage until Universal could make up their minds as to what to do with the cars. Were they going to sell them? Were they going to make an attraction at the Universal Studios? Were they going to do something with the cars in another movie? We didn't have to wait long. In mid of 2002, Universal started pre-production on a sequel called Too Fast, Too Furious. I thought they were going to spell it 200. I was wrong. But since the second movie was still focused on tuner cars, Universal asked me to go look at the cars to see if we can reuse some of the Japanese cars that they were sitting on. So I looked at a few of the cars. Stunt 3 was looking good. This car was initially designated to be the Mick rig in the first movie, but it was changed to Stunt 3, so it wasn't gutted, so that was a really clean example. So I said, yeah, we should take this car, we can do something with it. Stunt number 3 in later years landed in the Desert Car Museum, but in 2023, this car landed in the hands of Gabriel Tremblay. He has his own YouTube channel called Furious Garage, and he's in the middle of a thorough restoration. It's getting some work done off-site, but when you see that car, it's going to be fantastic. The stunt number 2 was shipped off to Miami to appear as one of the Orange Julius RX-7s in Too Fast, Too Furious. Just this past year, Chrome Cars in Germany bought this car, and they are getting ready to restore the car. I saw the car about 5 weeks ago, the beginning of December. It's functional, it's intact, but it needs a little love and care, and they're going to do that. The Orange Julius RX-7s were changed a bit, right? We removed most of the parts that were used in the first movie to give these cars a new look and make it look completely different. We equipped these cars with a Versus body kit and a J-Spec hood and new American Racing Roja wheels, big cats fog lights, and a new color for the car was needed, so we chose House of Color Ultra Orange. We also bought 2 other RX-7s in Miami and built those cars to match the new look of the Orange Julius cars. With Too Fast and Furious in the can, as they say, the other RX-7s started to scatter after the movie. A couple of these cars have been sold a few times. The Stunt 1 RX-7 from the first movie, which was used for interior and exterior shots, making really not a stunt car, but maybe a hero number 2 car. This car is owned by the same guy who owns my Supra over in Netherlands. If you want to see the cars, you can go to this Instagram, Fast Garage NL, which stands for Netherlands, and you can see some of the pictures right here. If you want to see more of these movie cars, follow other accounts like Chrome Cars on YouTube and on Instagram, and Gabriel Tremblay on Furious Garage on his YouTube channel, and his Instagram at Fast and Furious Integra. The Hero 1 car from the first movie has been hidden for many, many years, supposedly in the Gardena area for a while, but another source suggests that this car is now in the Santa Clarita area, which I think it is, and this basically is still a bit of a mystery. This is a tragedy of collector cars. Some people just sit on these cars and don't share them with the public. Of course, that's their right, I get it, but still, it still is a shame. If you take a look at companies like Chrome Cars, was probably my best example. These guys buy restore and share their movie cars all over Europe. If you've been following me this year, I've gone to, what, 5 or 6 or 7 different events for them. They always bring their movie cars out and they share that with everybody. But if the Hero one would come up for sale, it would be a big, big event. Of course, this car would not be cheap. Hero cars from the first movie are all selling for 6 figures or more. This past year, the Fast and Furious 4 Skyline GTR, which was a real GTR, yes, has sold for nearly $1.4 million. And I saw the car personally the week it was sold, and it was in really good shape. So for those of you who do DM me, asking me if any Fast and Furious cars are for sale, if you're talking about cars from the first 2 movies, you better have a 6 or 7 digit bank balance or don't bother. Any car that was used in the first 2 movies that was driven Paul Walker or Vin Diesel is going to be well into the 6 figures, or maybe even 7. All in all, though, Keith's RX7 was a great fit for the first move, but on Too Fast and Furious, it kind of blended in with the other cars. Still, its appearance in the first film immortalized the Mazda RX-7 as a classic and capable JDM sports car. And I think the production team made the right choice with this car. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to get notifications to help me with YouTube's algorithm. See you next week, everybody, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.